You're good.
All right, thanks. So welcome everyone to our conversation with the Rails Executive Director. My name is Jamie Ball, and I'm the Library Development Administrator for the Arizona State Library. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We are recording this conversation, so if you please mute yourself, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you're on the phone and you receive a phone call during this discussion, please disconnect from our meeting. Otherwise, we get to hear your hold music. And then just reconnect when you're done with your call. Feel free to chat at any time. Just be sure to change the toggle where it says to, I think it says Chris Guerra, host. Be sure to change that to everyone so that we can see your chat. And this is a pretty informal little hour that we're going to be in. So just go ahead and chat whenever you like. You can raise your hand also, and we'll try to address your questions during the hour, and then we're going to save about 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. So I wanted to say a few words about Deidre Brennan, otherwise known as Dee. She's the Executive Director of the Reaching Across Illinois Library System, otherwise known as RAILS. And she has been in that position since January 2013. Since coming to RAILS, Dee has led the development of additional services, including continuing education and consulting, successful outsourcing of delivery that resulted in time, space, and cost savings for participating libraries, expansion of a cooperative purchasing program, formation of an extensive member engagement program across 27,000 square mile Rails area, and the investigation of an overlay project to provide library users with seamless access to shared online catalog consortia within Rails and the catalogs of standalone libraries that choose to participate. In 2016, she was awarded the Illinois Library Association Hugh Atkinson Memorial DEMCO Award for her contributions to resource sharing innovation. In 2017, she was named an Illinois Library Luminary for her sustained work for libraries in Illinois. And Dee, we are really glad that you took the time to visit with us today. So over to you.
All right, thank you. I want you to know that I did all of those things all by myself. No one helped me. So there. Just kidding, of course. So, all right, well, I'm happy to be talking with you today. I'm happy to answer questions anytime. You sent me a lot of written good questions, and I think that I'm going to cover them in pretty much the order that you asked them, but if I miss some, just jump in whenever. So, yep, this is us, Rails. I'll start with some system history. So before 1965, there really wasn't any resource sharing or collaboration. And, to answer your questions about the formation, so the state legislature did it. It's interesting. It's the Illinois State Library and the Illinois Library Association worked together on a study to figure out how to help libraries, how to expand the resources available. And what they came up with was the system, the Illinois Library System Act. And I did send the complete text of that law to Jamie. I'm sure you've all pored over it. And that is this, 75 ILCS 10. And that's pretty much defines what we do. Our main job is to support and enhance resource sharing. So Illinois was the first state to have these kinds of systems, and we started out with 18. they're pretty much, there was no direction given at the time as to how many systems there should be. And so they kind of just, it was like a grassroots kind of thing. And, since then, we had a lot of mergers, mostly because of money or lack thereof. And so Rails was formed in 2011 as a merger of 5 predecessor systems. So now there are 2 multi-type systems. In the north, that's Rails, that's us. And then in the south, there is the Illinois Heartland Library System. And then Chicago Public Library is a separate system, so that covers the Chicago and all the branches, like 80 branches. We serve all the other libraries in Chicago, all the special school academic libraries. And as I say, this latest merger we had a 16% cut to our funding. All of our funding comes from the state. Libraries don't pay. And I think that is probably a fundamental thing you need to know, because it sounds like from your questions that you were looking at forming something, but it would involve libraries paying for the service. Is that correct? Is that what you're thinking?
We can discuss.
Hello? This is John Walsh. I don't think that there is any stream of revenue decided yet.
Oh, okay.
But it could be membership fees, but I am not sure.
Okay. I just wanted to, make that point really clear that pretty much all libraries are members. It is free in the sense that it has already been paid for with tax dollars. So let's see. So then, this is the map. Rails is there in the north. As Jamie said, 27,000 square miles, about 1,280 libraries. Most of them are, not most of them, but the largest number of school libraries, followed by public, then academic, and then special. So let me see here. So this is our service area. So our governance, so we have an elected board, elected by the membership. As you can see, 15 seats. And the System Act does stipulate that 8 of the seats, so a majority of the board, will be held by public library trustees. And then there are specific seats for academic school and special libraries. And then at large, anybody can run for, but pretty much the public libraries tend to dominate those seats, and actually they are the most vociferous consumers of our services by far. This is our organization chart. You asked for an organization chart or a structural chart. I hope that this is what you meant. This is our internal staff. Is this what you were asking for, Jamie?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, this is exactly what we were looking for.
Okay. So I'm trying to think if do you have any other questions at this point about the governance or the funding? I'm going to say a little bit more about the funding and the state library, but this is, you can see that delivery, I mean, we did outsource some of our delivery, but you can see that delivery is a big portion of our staff. And
So
we,
Dee,
yes.
yeah, Dee, I did have a question back on the funding. You said that the state pays for everything that pertains to rails. Do you mean the state library, and is it only state funds, or could it be federal funds too?
Right, good question. Yes, so, yes, it is a mix of federal and state. Every year we apply for an area and per capita grant, and it is, so our funding is kind of hardwired. There's a formula based on area and per capita, so geography and population. So we, Heartland has the system in the south has a little bit more geography, more miles, but that they cover, but we have by far more people. Northern Illinois is very populous, and so our budget is almost $10 million a year, and Heartland's is about, I think, like 3.5 million. So, and about, I would say, a third of that is federal funds. So, as I'm sure is true in most states, and probably if not all, and probably Arizona, the federal funds, the state funds, have to meet a maintenance of effort in order for us to get the federal funds, and so that's part of our operational budget every year. Okay?
Thanks. Yep, thank you.
So, as I said, so delivery is a huge service, and we deliver in our system about 9 million items a year, and this is also all paid for by rails, and is a big chunk of our budget, probably about quarter to a third of probably a third of the budget. Counting the people, the vehicles, etc. And it's very important to all the libraries. So this is the members, the makeup of the membership broken down by type. Oops, come on. This is our mission statement. All about resource sharing. We're here to help libraries. So here's more about our funding. As I say, we do an annual grant that is based on priorities that are set by our board and then by the state library. So you did ask a question about whether large libraries sort of monopolize the services. And I would say that is not an issue in the sense that, it's certainly true that the larger libraries are, put more in the delivery system than smaller libraries, but that's just the way it is. That's good. They're providing resources. That's what we're all supposed to be doing. I would say that it's not so much large as it is, the public libraries really are vociferous consumers. The academic libraries in Illinois have another consortium that most of them belong to. It's called the Consortium of Academic and Research Libraries in Illinois, CARLI, and that is headquartered at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. So they really turn to CARLI more than us by a long shot. So let me see what else about the funding. So as I said, the state library, our funding comes through them, and we work very closely with them. As I said, they have their own, strategic plan or priorities. Our board also approves our plan. And, it's about expanding resource sharing. It's about, it details some of the services that I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. So do you have any other questions about funding at this point? Or should I keep going? Okay, I'll keep going. So, as I said, so these are all, this is our programs and services. We, when we do our annual grant application to the state library every year, we have to, as well, along with the budget, we have to lay out all the things we're going to do every year. And there are some things that are kind of mandated in the System Act, and they are resource sharing, and that includes resources, physical resources, e-resources, knowledge, best practices. We are required to do continuing education and training for our members, and that's a huge and important part of our program of services. We do hundreds, if not 1,000 workshops every year, and we have a very robust network, member engagement plan, because that is very important to our members as well. We do support the shared catalogs. There are multiple shared catalogs in Rails, and we do financially support them in their operations, as well as obviously providing the delivery that kind of makes it all work. So, and then this term of art, you'll see LSAP is a historical term that stands for Local Library System Automation Program. That's really it means a consortia. It means a shared library management system, or an ILS. But this is the Illinois acronym that's actually in the law, so we're kind of stuck with it. In Rails, we have 6 consortia that we support. Heartland was able to merge a number of their small consortia into one very large consortia. It has about 300 members of all types. That's on a Polaris system. We, in Northern Illinois, people are just too independent and, cantankerous sometimes about controlling their own catalogs. And we also have some really big, well-funded libraries, Aurora, Naperville, Arlington Heights. They're standalone libraries. They're not very needy in terms of state support, and so it's it's hard for us to really convince them to do anything that they don't really want to do, because they don't need our money. So good for them. But they love our training. Everybody gets along great. It's just that they have enough to get by on their own.
So Dee, I had a question for you about that. Yeah. Does Rails try to influence the smaller libraries to join a certain ILS or to purchase a certain ILS?
We do encourage. We have a grant program where we. That's a very important part of our budget. We spend about $2.5 million on it. Overall support for the LSAPs. That encourages or helps libraries that aren't automated to get automated, or helps libraries that are not a part of a consortium to join a consortium. And I think that you're also quite interested in the Find More Illinois project. And this is which this slide is up now. This is this was the so-called overlay, and we have chosen. We are implementing and we have a pilot going on right now with the autographic software ShareIt that's in use in a number of states, and the pilot has 21 libraries of all types. And we're just yesterday we started accepting requests from additional libraries to join. And what we're hoping to do with this, with Find More, is to get libraries that are not. I mean, we're making it very affordable. So to get libraries that aren't automated or aren't able to share their resources, to get them online with Find More, with ShareIt, and also to bring together the various consortia so that if a patron in one library looks at a catalog, doesn't see what they want, they will be clicked over to the Find More database, which brings them to other shared catalogs that are part of Find More. That's what will be, as I said, right now we're only in the pilot stage. I know that you asked for some feedback from the pilot libraries, and we want some feedback too. It's just very early yet, but we will be happy to share feedback when we have it. The pilot hasn't been going on that long. Anecdotally, people are using it, happy with it. I think that one of the large academic libraries that is participating, which is the University of Illinois at Chicago, is they're kind of in a dilemma because they already have so many other ways for their students to find things that they're hesitating now about adding yet another one, which, I mean, I think we can all understand that. But I think as it grows and there's more resources available in it, those kinds of, I think it will, at some point, my vision is that it will become the, preeminent place where you go if you are if you're, want to look beyond your own catalog, or if you're a standalone or whatever. So let's see where we are here. Yeah, so this is delivery. Again, as I was saying, 9.4 million items. There's one of our trucks. So that's a very important service, and basically people, 98% of items are, 48 hours from library to library, if not quicker. So people are very happy with delivery. Things go wrong, of course. Alarms don't get set, items get wet, but generally speaking, it works very well and is very important. I think Veranda was down there talking to you about eRead and BiblioBoards specifically. Am I right about that? Do you want me to go into a lot of detail on this, or do you feel like you know everything there is to know?
Feel free to wax eloquent about this, Dee.
Okay. There's a few things I would say. So, first of all, we have about 1 million residents in Illinois of Illinois who don't have access to public library service. These are areas throughout the state that do not tax themselves for public libraries, and so those people can buy a card, but it can be an economic difficulty, and so we do see this digital collection as a way of expanding service to unserved residents. We've done that with biblioboards, which is, I think, a really great resource. It's very different from Access 360 or Overdrive. I know Veranda, she gets a little upset when I say this sometimes, but I really view it as being, I view the Access 360 as being, you know, lots of copies of things that people want to read quickly. It shouldn't be, it isn't a library collection. It's a popular materials collection. And I think biblioboards is much richer than that. I think it has great resources for schools because it's, you know, multiple users, simultaneous user, so great classroom use. It has a lot of really interesting different kinds of materials in the core collection, for example, dissertations, which academic libraries are often very interested in. And it also has this local module that is designed for libraries to use and help, that enables their patrons to publish their books. So it's a real like local creativity kind of thing. And it's, as I say, it's all, you know, it's geolocated, so it's statewide, and simultaneous use is fantastic because there's no waiting. So so that's what I would say about them both. I think you need them both, but they're not the same. This is more about biblioboards, right? So let's see. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of continuing education. We do them in a variety of ways because you know, we have such a big area to cover, all different kinds of topics. We also provide access to the trustee fact file, which is a resource from United for Libraries, the ALA division. And we actually, with United for Libraries, kind of co-authored a resource that I'm really happy about, which is the short takes for trustees. The problem that we always have found with public library trustees is that they're very busy and they're volunteers, and to get them to go to training is very difficult. So these short takes are literally that. They're like, you know, 10-minute online you know, presentations or conversations that are designed to be watched at a board meeting as an agenda item even. So you know, really easy training. The trustee fact file is much more in depth, but we do provide that to all of our members free of charge, both of those sources. And they're pretty well used, especially the short takes. And then we have, Rails does provide free legal assistance for basic questions about the Freedom of Information Act and the Open Meetings Act. They're not in-depth type questions. You know, if it's too specific to some particular municipality or situation, the law firm that we contract with will tell the caller that they really need to contact their own attorney. But this has been, the FOIA has been, I would say, abused in Illinois. It has been used for political purposes. You know, it was a good idea in terms of improving governmental transparency. But there have been some really bad situations in some communities where people with political axes to grind really kind of brought or bring the workings of a government agency to a halt. And I'm not just talking about libraries, schools and park districts are also victims. And so it's better now. I think, I'm knocking on wood, but we did set this up maybe 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, because people were just desperate for, I mean, it really makes you frantic when people keep, sending you these multi-page, 25 questions, and you only have, with multiple parts and all these documents they want you to produce. And, a small library of one or two people, they don't have the expertise to even know what the questions mean sometimes. So we set this up to help people, and I think it's taken a lot. It's made it a lot better for people, and I think it's better right now, but who knows, when it might crop up again. So what does the future hold? Well, we're working on our new strategic plan and new branding. We want to provide more digital collections. I really would like us to work with the State Library and the Heartland Library System to offer a statewide database package. We don't do that in Illinois. I don't think we ever have. I don't really know why. Maybe because it was so fragmented with the 18 systems. I'm not sure, but I think that we could do something that would also, help to address this unserved problem, as well as just, take the pressure off libraries by providing some, a basic kind of package. But we haven't done that yet. That's pretty much what I was going to say. I'm happy to go into more depth about anything, answer any questions. I would say that just in general, I think that the model that we have in Illinois has worked really well. I think it has really expanded resources for users and really helped libraries to work together. Unfortunately, the money has not stayed level, or certainly hasn't increased over the years. But other states, I think, are doing, in some cases, some more interesting things. Certainly, I think Massachusetts spends a lot more money on technology or digital collections than we do. But it's working pretty good so far. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Dee. I see that Gina has popped in a question here. How does RAILS interact with your state library organization? Is there a partnership in support of libraries with the organization?
Sure. Yes, we work very closely with them. They are our funder. They approve our budget. They approve our annual plan. I think, there are some projects that we work on very closely together. For example, we collaborate every year to do a new directors university. So we bring in all the new library directors, public library directors. This past couple of years, there have been about 50 for a week in Springfield, and teach them everything that they can possibly need to know. We think everything about budgeting and Illinois laws, and so we work really closely together on that. We're working on something together right now with them. We're looking at delivery statewide to see if there are ways that we can make it more efficient and less expensive. Basically we talk regularly. We don't always agree. Generally we do. I think it's a good partnership.
And I'd like to follow up on that with, I think State Library Association.
Oh, you meant the Illinois Library
No.
Association?
I think that I'd like to know about that too. I think we'd like to know about that too.
Sure. So ILA is really the and very close partnership, good friendships there. They're really the advocacy arm. We don't do any lobbying for obvious reasons. So ILA, for example, they have public policy committee, which is kind of their legislation committee, and I'm a ex officio member of that, where they talk about priorities for more funding, whatever, for example, more funding for systems or different changes to different laws related to property taxes, which are the basic funding source for public libraries. Yes, we work, they are also part of Directors University. We participate in a number of, they do a Youth Services Institute every year. We sponsor that, sponsor of the conference. Yeah, we collaborate. We're looking at system membership standards now. They have some public library standards, so we're making sure that those are very closely aligned. So yes, I would say that our organizations are very much in sync, and we don't compete. We each have what we know that is important for us to do for libraries, and there's plenty of work to be done, and so we're very careful to not step on anybody's toes, and that works always really well.
Great. I see Kathleen has put in a question that maybe, Kathleen, you'll need to expand on here. Do LSTA grants work well in this large system?
Well, LSTA has, over the years, because of the budget cuts to systems, that there are really, I would have to say no, I'm trying to think if that's completely, there is not a competitive grant program at this point for LSTA grants. It is, the LSTA is used to fund, to partially fund the systems, and it's used for other projects at the state library. We used to have a competitive grant program here of LSTA funds every year, different targeted areas, but that really went away for the most part when in one of the budget cuts back, I would say, I guess it was about 2009. They do give some grants, like there's a Back to Books grant that they do, but very small amounts. They do some construction grants, but I think that's state funding. They really do. The state library does a great job of managing the federal and the state funds to, get the best possible use out of it. I don't know how they do it really. It's because really, it's, because LSTA is 2 years, state funding is not, and, they manage to, make it all work somehow. So in the sense of, I think what you're referring to is kind of a larger scale competitive grant program that we used to have here and that we had in Massachusetts, but that doesn't really exist anymore.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. And then Gina is following up with the Illinois Library Association again, wondering if the ILA is part of the Rails board, perhaps as at-large members? No, there's no connection between the governance of the organizations. Now, it so happens that a staff member here is on the ILA board, but
no, there's no official governance connection. And I think it's probably good because we're tax supported, and I think it's cleaner that way. And, you know, Illinois we have our issues. So.
Yep, that makes sense. So, Dee, I have another question for you. When I was reading your bio, I noted the expansion of a cooperative purchasing program.
Yes,
right. Could you talk a little bit more, like give us some specifics on how Rails manages cooperative purchasing of anything, everything?
Sure. So we use it. It started out, it was very limited to members of consortia and to very, to kind of just library, materials kind of things, e-resources, say. But now we do purchases for all members, all types, and very often we will get an idea from a member of something that they want, they ask us to look into. I'm trying to think of some examples. Well, one of the more successful programs, that's something actually that the State Library is very interested in, that we may, and to see how it goes, and we may partner with them on a literacy-related project, is the Gale Online High School program, where, and this is kind of goes beyond cooperative purchasing, but so I don't know if you know anything about that or how it works, but basically there's like a
school, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You pay like a fee, and then just to have the program, a big fee. I mean, it's like, I think we pay like $50,000 a year, and then libraries, then there are like, I think of them as sort of scholarships or a student fee of something like $1,000 or something, and so we pay the $50,000, and then the member libraries that are interested in doing this, they put in the $1,000 that gets the student the ability to the access to the program so that they can get their degree. And so this is growing, and I think it's been really useful in some of our communities. And then, but the more traditional one is, we'll pay, we'll buy, we'll negotiate a discounted price. We sign the contract, we pay for the resource, and then the libraries pay us. So the vendors like it. There's only one bill. It's just strictly a pass-through. We don't charge any administrative fee at all. We, like I said, we have, I think we have BrainFuse as an example. I think we have some other Gale resources, I think. We have Communico, which is an events thing, I think. I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask about this. Sorry. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. And so just to back it up a little bit, because I'm really looking for specifics there, is so Rails, someone at Rails,
yes,
based on maybe some recommendations from your members, will look at a product or service, negotiate a discounted price.
Yep.
The vendor invoices Rails,
yep,
and then the libraries that are interested or whatever pay you.
Yep.
Okay. That's what I was wondering about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go ahead, Dee.
We're working on I don't know if Ron had talked about this, our Explore More, which is our e-museum pass program. So we're working with Quipu the Quipu group in California. They have it up and running in California. It's called Discover and Go. And the way it's an online pass program for not just museums, for attractions. And so we pay for the software, and we're not paying the museums anything. California got a big LSTA grant to get this started. But then libraries, and you know, the attractions, the museums, the, you know, state parks, whatever, zoos, can decide what kind of they want to offer free admission or discounted parking or a tote bag or whatever, but something, and then there's, you know, there's an online pass that you reserve online, and then it's on your phone. You can print it out if you need to, but the point is that there's no paper involved. Then the, you know, library user goes to it all comes through their through the public library only. We had to limit it to that, and then they can go to the museum or wherever. So that's not exactly a cooperative purchase, but it's kind of.
Okay. So are there any other questions for Dee while we have her here? Okay. Well, I don't have any more right now, so I think we're going to go ahead and wind it up. But this has been really interesting, and I will definitely make sure that everyone gets a copy of the PowerPoint. Well, let's see. Kathleen does have a question here. How hard was it to negotiate the ebook platform? You want to address that one, Dee?
Well, you know, that's interesting. I mean, it was, you know, like, it seems like a lifetime ago in the landscape of ebooks, right? But we, you know, we knew we didn't want Overdrive, and well, they didn't want us because they don't do schools, and or they didn't at the time. I mean, this is 2013, so. And then we talked to what at the time was 3M, but they had a very difficult and expensive pricing formula. So we went to Baker & Taylor and said, do you work with consortia? And because their Access 360 was pretty new then, and they said, yeah, but they really hadn't. So, but, you know, Baker & Taylor's a trusted resource, obviously. I mean, you know, it wasn't difficult to negotiate the price. I think the sort of ongoing negotiations over, and a grant funded that. The state library gave us $900,000 to get that going, and you know, kind of funded the first year and a half or so. But you know, we're always trying to get more content, and that was actually more interesting, was because, you know, most publishers at the time wouldn't sell to consortia. So that was a really interesting process going through that with Baker & Taylor and the publishers. And, you know, just trying to make it easier to use and a better user experience. That's really it's more that than the money now.
So, Dee, do you use both BiblioBoard and Access 360?
Yes, we provide both.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, are there any other questions for Dee?
Dee, this is Holly, State Librarian, and I'm here with Jamie, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to go through all these details with us, because this has been extremely helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Let me know if I can help any more.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we might take you up on that one.
Okay.
All right. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll say so long, and as I said, I will make sure that you get the handout and the link to the recording.
Okay, thank